So don't have to do that anymore, Adam, because Zoom does it for me.
That's fantastic. Jumps right in, eh?
Yeah, it tells you when we're recording. Now we're going to give David something to have to edit out right now. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Beers with Bill. It's my pleasure to welcome back Adam Wilson, sales for the Furnace Room Brewery. Adam, welcome back to the show.
Thank you kindly, Bill. It's always good to be here.
What beer are we going to start with first?
We're going to start with Beardmore, which is our Lagerdale. So I jumped on board with these guys at Furnace Room about 2 months ago now, and actually shortly after last time I was chatting with you guys, and I loved what, I mean, when I talked to you guys last time, I was kind of all over the place and not quite sure which direction I was going to go in. And these guys, just their overall vibe, their overall attitude, the liquid that they're producing, I was just like, oh, okay, I like you guys. And so what I'm going to do is basically try to work for every new brewery that comes out so that we can do this all the time, and I give you guys something new to try. I'm not doing that. I'm going to stick with these guys for a while. So Beardmore is it's our flagship, and initially it was called the Kolsch. Which is the style it is. It's a German style beer that has been around for a long time, and very similar to champagne. It's only supposed to be called Kolsch in the region. And thanks to our friends many years ago at Bose, they kind of stuck on the lagered ale moniker, and breweries across the province and across the country have been borrowing it quite successfully in some cases for a while now. So we actually had the Kolsch name on it, and when we made the change to Lagerdale, the difference in sales was actually kind of surprising. Like, it's people just, not a lot of people relate to the name and have really wrapped their heads around it, whereas the Lagerdale is a pretty good explanation of things. So like the name suggests, it is an ale that tends to go through the lagering process. So what it is, it's cold chilled for a few weeks. So you're getting that crisp, clean flavor that you tend to get from a lager, but you're still getting some of those fruity esters that you would get from an ale based on the fact they still use the ale yeast, and the esters produced by that do have that nice fruity off flavor to it. All the hops, all the malts are German-based malts and hops, so that you get you get that authentic feel. Our brewer Matt. He's pretty fantastic. He really does know how to get his water proper when he's doing the different types of beer. He keeps a good eye on that, and it comes through. It's one of 2 beers we have full time in the LCBO right now. And cheers. Let me know what you guys think. Bill, what are your thoughts on it?
You have me at a loss because I don't have the beers.
Right. There you go, Dave. Another one for you to edit out later.
No, you just keep that one in.
No,
but I always have an opinion on Kolsch anyways. When you call it a lagered ale, it's like, oh, a beer with a complex. It's not sure what it is.
I find that they balance themselves really well. It's taken me a while to get into the lager game, and I find that when I do go back into that realm, I tend to go to the German beers. Pilsner Arkell is an example. I know that it's produced by, or it's distributed by Labatt's, one of the other big guys, but it's one of the exceptions on my list of beers that I won't be a total snob about, and because it still drinks really well. It has there is a forward hop profile to it, as well as that really nice biscuity malt quality that you want out of this style of beer. I'm really happy that I get to sell this one, because it's once people actually get liquid to lips on this one, they're pretty happy to try it out.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a great, crisp, clean drink. Now, Furnace Room's been around about it's going to be their 3rd year anniversary coming up in December.
Coming up,
and they got totally snowballed over when they first started, because they were constantly being sold out.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, there's a certain. I mean, I guess in one sense it's a good problem to have, because it's those growing pains, people like the liquid, so they kept buying it out. And Georgetown is one of those. It's a fantastic little community, but I mean, it's one of those bedroom communities that have popped up over the last 20 or 30 years. It's not like Hamilton or London, where you have that sense of community for 100 years, 200 years, whatever the case may be. So to have something that the town can call its own, and a meeting place like that it can call its own, people really got behind it. When we first went to the LCBO, we were still trying to figure everything out, and we had sent Beardmore and Chicken Man over to Wellington, to Wellington's was brewing for us, for the 2 main ones that we're going into stores. Now, a lot of the smaller breweries will do that. I know that we've talked about this before with Boschkung. They were doing their stuff out of Lake of Bays, and a few others tend to do it. So now we're back 100% in-house for the time being. We figured it out. We got a couple of really strong brewers in the back who not only are they really good at making beer, but they're really good at juggling the production schedule, which is super important.
So Derek's a little bit curious about how big was that change when they changed the label from Colts to Lagerdale?
To be honest with you, I think it probably saved our listing in the LCBO. You have to have a certain volume that they look at. There's a certain metric that they look at in the LCBO, and I think that we were probably on the cusp of that when we made that changeover. And now we're not even near that. It's not even a concern for us for the Beardmore right now.
Okay.
It stands out. For a big thing of what we're looking at right now is our branding, and how it stands out, how it compares to, not necessarily compares to other breweries, but we're taking a look at how other breweries are doing in certain terms of their consistency on the shelf. And it's a big deal. Like, I mean, you guys, we all have a choice every time we walk into a store, and what's going to catch our eye when we walk into that store. And if you've got 3 or 4 or 5, 6 beers that are lined up next to each other that are from the same brewery, and there's something about them that already tells the story, you're going to reach for that a lot quicker. So we're in the process right now of taking a look at that with our brands. We saw it with the name change, so we're taking a look to see how we can blend everything together. So there'll probably be some changes on the outside of the can by next year, and we're kind of excited about what we've been beating around so far.
On branding, do they have in-house art?
We do,
branding?
Yeah,
Okay.
we do. We have our marketing director, her name's Olga, and she's pretty phenomenal. We just brought on somebody new onto the marketing team as well. Her name's Reza, and the energy that this woman gives out is just absolutely fantastic. So, we actually had a meeting earlier this week where the management team sat down, and we all started beating around ideas, throwing out different things, and there was just an energy in the room that made me so happy that I was actually part of the team, because we were talking over each other and making fun of each other and doing all those things that you do when there's a beer or two in front of you. So it was a lot of fun.
It's a lot different than a year ago, eh? Able to meet face to face and be in the same room.
It's pretty phenomenal. I made sure that I checked everybody's vaccine passport before they walked in the door. I did no such thing.
But it does broker that, it people are still a little bit concerned about those kinds of things.
100%, and everybody has a different opinion. I mean, you can go around this room and, we could all have just a slightly different opinion on how things are. But at the end of the day, we all want to get to whatever the next step is. We want to get back to whatever our version of normal is. And in terms of how we sell beer, and in terms of how we hang out at bars or restaurants or whatever we want to do, and I want to keep my family healthy. And if I have to do whatever, I'm going to do whatever needs to be done to get to that next stage. I'm about to jump on a plane on Thursday, and as long as my family can get down east healthy and happy and all that good stuff, then I'm going to do what needs to be done.
So you're heading east, are you?
Yeah, you just got back, didn't you?
It's been about a month, yeah.
How was the trip?
The trip was excellent. I did a couple of shows from one from a service station parking lot, and the other one from the parking lot at the local library where I could get Wi-Fi. And that one was across the country because David was in BC at the time working.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's awesome.
We had to work out the dynamics of how many hours there were between us on that one.
It's big. My family's in Nova Scotia, and my wife and I and our daughter lived out in BC, and trying to figure out that getting home, making phone calls, when can we call, when we can't. My dad always called at the exact wrong time. It was 4-hour difference between the two, and I'm getting a phone call at like 4:30 in the morning, and I'm like, you need to stop this.
What do you mean you're not up and working at 4:30 in the morning? What's wrong with you?
I hope you had some good beer when you were down east, Bill.
Had some good beer, and had a great time just relaxing and being there.
Awesome.
So
that's the best part of it.
I hope you have a great time visiting family.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good. I haven't been home at this time of year since I moved up here, which is about 25, 26 years ago now. And so we're going to have the entire family around Thanksgiving table. And my brother just moved back down. He was up in Oakville, and he just moved back down. And he's been sending me pictures all week. Like, he's basically just traveling around the valley to every different brewery that he can get to. And his fridge is just, I don't know where the hell all the food's going, but there's so much beer that's stocked in this fridge. And I'm like, all right, I'll help you empty it out before Thanksgiving Day.
It sounds like you'll be having a great time. So I have a question for you, because we all know that there's a romance around working in the beer industry that isn't real. But I'm wondering, everything that you've gone through over the last year and a half, is there still some romance in it for you?
Yes, or I wouldn't be doing this. Honestly, the craft world. Okay, so when I went to college, however many years ago, I went for radio broadcasting, and I got into the industry for the same reasons. Like, I just had this passion for it. I absolutely loved it. I loved the romantic quality of it, the whole thing. And then I got my first paycheck, and I was like, God damn, that's not very good, So, and the beer world's the same way. There's not a ton of money to be made out there, but there is. People do it for the passion, and the people that I get to work with. And I mean, this goes to Furnace Room. I found it at Boschkong. It was definitely there at Bose, and that passion hasn't gone away, and people still love doing what they do every day. And yeah, no, the passion is definitely there. There's I mean, when you're driving that 3.5 hours down to Windsor in a rainstorm, you're like, what? There's easier ways to make money than this. But I've also been on the tools in Labrador City when it was -40, and I'll tell you right now, this is a hell of a lot easier job to do when you're not away from your family every single night. So, to be able to talk about beer, to be able to do things like this with like-minded people is phenomenal. Oh, that's a good question, Terry. So Terry just asked if being at the next, so the brewery's right next to the GO station. Actually shares a parking lot with the GO station in Georgetown, and he was just asking if it actually drives traffic. I'm not up there enough during those times of days to be able to actually answer that question. Every time I go up there, though, when the doors are open, there's people there. I'm hoping they came off there or they came from the neighborhood, but I honestly don't know. I would like to think that we can do some guerrilla marketing and just stick up a couple of ads that say "Go drink that way" when you get off the go station.
Go train brew tour. Yeah.
Yeah, there's no legalities to that at all, eh?
I was thinking you were suggesting drinking and then getting on the go train and getting off and finding another microbrew.
Oh, okay. All right. I like the European idea better, where you could just do it on the go train.
Well, maybe we'll get there eventually with the the changes the government's contemplating.
All we need is a few more pandemics so that Dougie can try to make everybody happy once in a while.
That's so true. What beer are we going to try next?
We're gonna stick with the malts, so we'll go with the Right House Red Ale, which is this beauty right here. That sound. So the Right House, all of our beers right now are named after different landmarks in Georgetown. At some point in time, there'll probably be a bit of a shift away from that. One of the things about starting a new brewery and being that regional brewery when you open up is that you really do focus on, if you've got the bigger plans, then you might broaden yourself out. But I mean, with Georgetown and trying to get people on board, they went whole hog on really focusing on the Georgetown stuff. And the Right House was a pub that was in Georgetown for 80 or 90 years, something along those lines. And so that's where the name of this one came from. And it's a classic red ale. I don't know how well you can see the color in that in this light, but it's got this really nice roasted malt flavor to it. Like most red ales, it's super well balanced. You're not getting too much of any one thing, but you get this really nice caramel qualities that come through on the end. And the hops are just there for balance. You don't want to have an overly sweet red. You want to be able to have, you want to have that nice dry finish. Typically is what you want to get out of a red ale. So that's what we're sipping here.
So you got that nice balance between the back end tone of the hops and the sweetness from the malts in the front.
That's right. Yeah, and I love me some caramel style beers. Where those roasts are. I mean, I've said this before on here that I love my darker beers, and it really does come down to balance, though, because I mean, for me, I'm not a fan of the ice box or the doppelbox or things along those lines. I find those don't carry that balance. There's too much sweetness to it. Much the same way that if you go overboard on an IPA, there's certain IPAs out there that are super famous, do really well. Look at Bone Shaker. It has been around for a long time. It sells a lot of beer. For me, it's the balance is too far off for my liking. I find it's too far the other way, where there's just too much of a hop variety. So I really do enjoy that as something that does carry a bit more balance to it. And the red ales really do that. So I find in the falls when I see the first couple of red ales on the shelves, then I'm like, we're getting there. We're almost to my sweet spot here.
I hear you. When you get back, I'll drop off my doppelbock to you.
Right. I mean, I'll drink it. I mean, it's.
No, I did a collab with Counterpoint that we just released.
Really? Eh?
Yeah. So you and I have a need to get together. I was down your way in the weekend.
Oh, were
Friday.
you?
Yep, Friday night, my wife turned to me and said, "I'd like to go to Charlottesville, just sit on the patio and have some food."
It's a good spot on a Friday night to be.
Yep. So
yeah, it's and Melissa and Tim are such a nice couple, and they're doing such a good job with the beer program there too.
Yes, she's got a really good handle on that. So tell me, what would I find on your playlist right now?
Oh man. Well, today I went. was going back to my high school days. I had some of my some of the '90s on there. I had my Bad Religion on, and Dead Milkmen, and some early Red Hot Chili Peppers, and you know, some of the classics that I got in trouble with in high school. So it was the early '90s were weird, because you still had like you, you had the hair metal that, I mean, and there's not a person in this room over a certain age that didn't love hair metal. I don't care how much you try to hide it, you did love it. Don't even lie to me about it, because it was there. But you know, I remember I had on vinyl, I had Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In. And my dad was just be like, "What the hell is that?" I'm like, "Dad, it's." But then I discovered, like at the same time, I discovered Bob Dylan, and I discovered the Dead Milkmen and the Smiths and all this stuff, and I was just like, meanwhile, I turn on the radio and there's Paul Abdul, and I'm like, what is happening around here? And then, you know, grunge came along and stomped out a lot of that stuff, which was, you know, which was which wasn't a bad thing. But I mean, but you still, like, it's ingrained in you. If you're anywhere near that, you know, 40 to 50 range, that's, you know, there's that love there. So I was listening to a lot of that today. I was but usually, I mean, tried and true, I've got Steve Earle. Steve Earle's not far away. He's always close by. John Prang's always close by, and you know, Jason Isbell isn't far away most days either.
What's been the hardest hurdle with the changes in the last couple of months?
Remembering what company I work for, really, Bill. Like, it's remembering the names of things sometimes. It's, I mean, I've walked, I swear, like, oh, so I'm getting, I guess part of it for me is I'm getting back out on the road again. So not only am I working as I'm working as the director, I am also back on the road again as a rep in southwestern Ontario. So getting to meet people again and have those conversations again. And I mean, the last time I spent any time consistently on the road selling was when I was with Bose. So, you know, walking up to people and be like, they're, you know, they kind of recognize me, but I got a mask on my face and I'm wearing a different hat, and they haven't seen me in a couple of years. That, you know, some of those transitions have been a little bit tough, and just, you know, getting the ring rust off again and trying to remember how to sell beer face to face again has been has presented its challenges. But I think that probably the toughest part is just having those conversations with people who are still one bad week away from losing their business. You know,
Those are hard conversations.
Yeah, those are the tough
because
ones.
there's a lot of them out there still.
There are, and there's places that opened up just before COVID hit. I mean, shit, we're one of those places that opened up, and you know, we've the guys have done a fantastic job up to this point to get us to where we are. And but you know, there's a place that I just saw that, you know, I was in Niagara Falls called the Old Crow Tap House, and they're closing their doors. This weekend is their last weekend. They can't do it anymore, and it's unfortunate because it was a nice space. It was all those things that you want in a craft bar. It's a great place to have conversations. There's a nice rotating tap. There's some core brands there. Derek was doing a fantastic job with the program, and now it's gone. You know, it's so I think those, I mean, if you're going to look at the real challenges, all the jokes aside, those are the real challenges, is being out there and talking to people who are about to lose their livelihood.
I hear you. There was an article today that talking about the average small business owner went $170,000 in debt over the last 18 months to stay alive. Now that might not be physical debt. That might have, they've stripped their savings accounts out. They've maxed out their credit cards. And I was reading that and my brain was like, actually, if Troy and I had kept Kickoff running, that's right where we would be right now.
Right.
We'd be easily just shy of 200 grand in the hole. So,
I mean, your timing was impeccable, Bill. Like, it's there's something.
Oh, that was Troy's timing. He just said, nope, we're not doing this.
Right. Like, it's one of those things that it's you know, I have so many friends from my time in Toronto that own really good bars, and some have been able to keep it going. Some have had to walk away from it, and you know, some people have left the industry for good. And then the rest of us just don't know what the hell else to do with their time, so we just stick around. So, you know, it's it's crazy. It really is crazy out there, and it's hard. It's hard conversations.
I imagine they are. They're not fun, that's for sure.
It's
So
just another excuse not to take something on tap. It's a pain in the ass.
that's true. You want me to do what? No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
So what's been the best thing in the last 2 months?
Getting back out on the road again. It really has. I didn't realize how much I missed it. I feel really rejuvenated by this brewery. The conversations that I have in the office are absolutely fantastic. We just found out, like, we've got so with a company this size, you generally only get 1 or 2 seasonals a year at the LCBO. But we've got one coming out for winter, and then we have one that just got accepted for spring. Now we're working on a plan for our summer one. So there's a lot of that enthusiasm that goes along with that. And, you know, getting back out on the road, yes, it's a pain in the ass sometimes, but I get to go all over southwestern Ontario and meet people that are also passionate about beer and in the industry. So it's a lot of fun, and I get to take sidetracks to breweries that I don't normally get to, which is also pretty wild.
Eric, curious how many people work at the company?
Right now, probably about 12 of us. Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah, small little crew. Owners are really hands-on. They're really in, you know, they're not just invested financially into it, but they're invested. Like, you could tell that they want to see. They've got a 1-year plan, they've got a 3-year plan, they've got a 5-year plan. They're trying to get things off the ground. I invited Keith down today so that he could see it. Keith and I have been, you know, obviously we chat on a regular basis, and he lives close by, and I'm like, it's been too long. You got to come by and say hi and have a beer. And he got to experience some of that today. So that was pretty fun.
Great. Think my hair's almost long enough for dreads? Gonna have my hair like Keith.
I'm getting close to lapping you, Bill.
You don't want that. You don't want that. But it was amazing there. It's beautiful and fantastic people.
I'm glad that you had a good time. So tell me, Adam.
Yes.
With everything that's gone on in COVID, has it changed how you get your message out to the people that have been your clients for years?
In some senses, yes. LCBO, it's not that much different. You know, LCBO is you just chug along and you go in and you present what you have, and you know, there is some people, I mean, you could talk to a little bit differently. It's hard to say one way or the other, but when you're going into the licensees, when you're going in to talk to the bar owners, it's not about let's make a deal. You know, it's not about that anymore. It's about what can we do together to make sure that this is successful for you. And you know, you've got a pile of other things on your plate. Let me help you improve your business, or let me just give you good beer so that it will improve it naturally, and then we can just move forward from there. Whereas before, there's a lot of backdoor handshakes and this and that and the other thing, which is technically illegal to do in this province, but every damn place does it. Like, and that's the problem with it. It's this big race to the bottom, and I absolutely, pardon my language, can't fucking stand it. I hate that side of the industry so much. And I'm seeing it less and less. People are trying to take advantage of that right now. You know, you are getting the woe is me, and you know, times are tough, and I really, you know, I can't do this unless you do, you know, give me a free keg every 5 or give me a discount off the, you know. I avoid those places. I don't want to do business with those places if it's not about a cohesive partnership. Then we don't want to take part in it anyway.
I hear you. So it sounds like we're getting back to the way it used to be in the craft beer industry.
God, I hope so. I really do. Like, it's, you know, the rest of that part is going to be there. Like, it's never going away. Like, you know, as long as somebody thinks that, you know, that opening a restaurant is just fun and it's easy to do, you're always going to have that moron who thinks that making a 1 in 4 deal is the way to move their business along. So, you know, but there are enough people out there. All you have to do is walk down James Street in Hamilton and see the work that's being put in there with places like Rise Against Pizza, and you know, there's the barbecue spot that's right there, which, you know, Keith
Yep.
is so much better at this than I am. The Brain is there, and all these places that have put the time, the effort, and the energy into building something the right way. Those are the guys that are surviving.
Derek's curious if you can share this with us. Are the sales predominantly LCBO, or is it a split 50-50 between in-house, online, and LCBO?
Right now, it's right now our main work right now is LCBO. We're working on the other side of things. That's one of the reasons why I was brought in, so that we can start to strengthen some of that licensee side of it, whether that's through me being out there knocking on doors, or hopefully me putting the right people in place that have the experience to do that kind of stuff. It's not any, there's good money to be made on the licensee side, and even it's not, obviously it's not just about money, but if we're talking from the business perspective, is getting, you know, getting our beer into people's hands right then and there, as opposed, you know, where we can have those conversations in a pub, as opposed to the LCBO where we're sitting on the shelf with 120 other beers. It does make a big difference, you know, selling a pint or 2 or 3 or 4 at the time, as opposed to 1 or 2 beer, you know, off the shelf. So there's a balance to be had there. There's, you know, from the LCBO standpoint, there's over 600 stores, not to mention another 400 or 500 licensees, or sorry, agency stores, not to mention grocery that's involved too. So, I mean, they're big monsters to be had, and that's why the focus has been there, because it's a lot easier to sell into, even over the phone, sell into an LCBO and get a listing or 2.
Yep. So what beer are we going to try next?
Next up, let's go with Chicken Man. Chicken Man's a favorite of mine. I absolutely love this beer. This is what this guy looks like. Chicken Man Pale Ale. So it's a classic pale ale. You've got the really nice piney, citrusy notes up front, and it's really well balanced. Like, again, it's just, you know, I mean, when you think India Pale Ale, you're thinking all hops. This thing is still hop forward, but it's just left of center in terms of hops. It's, you know, let's say the NDP are the IPAs. These guys would be the liberals. Don't hold it against them. So it's an easy drinking beer, but there is a flavor punch to it that keeps things interesting. I really love the nose on this one. There's a lot of pine in there for me, and you know, it's one of the ones where if I'm walking into a classic pub, this is the type of beer that I want to drink.
Okay. You do have to tell us the backstory on the Chicken Man, though.
I do have to tell you the backstory on the Chicken Man. I don't know how well this technology will work, but I'll see if I can find this picture for you here. This is probably just going to be a humongous waste of time here, but let's see if I can figure this out. There was a real Chicken Man. So again, it goes back to Georgetown stuff. And there was a guy in Georgetown. Can we see this? There he is. That is the original Chicken Man. So he would drive around town all the time, all day, all the time, with a chicken on the back of his bicycle. He's gone now. There's no family to be heard of. We tried to reach out, but there was no estate to even talk to about doing this. And the guy in the can's not exactly the guy, the real guy, but it was definitely an homage to him, and it's an homage to I find that every community pretty much across this country has that guy or that girl that you're just like, oh yeah, I remember that guy from high school. Like there was that one, you know, where you're just like, yeah, I remember him, you know, and it's very much an homage to the small town lifestyle. And when I came on board, I got a company vehicle, and it's wrapped with that. It's this is what my Toyota RAV4 looks like. And so I can't hide. I can't hide anywhere. There's none of that. So fun story, it's second day of school. I'm driving my daughter, who's 7 years old, to school, and we pull into the parking lot, and she says, "Dad, can you park in the back row?" I was like, "Are you embarrassed of the car?" She doesn't say anything. She's red at this stage of the game. So I park in the front row. So if I'm going to start embarrassing her, it's going to start now. This is how it's going to go. So I park in the front row, and I was like, "You can't be embarrassed of Dad's car. It's his work card. I'll pull out all the cards." I'm like, never be embarrassed of what your parents do for a living, unless they drive a chicken car, and then you can be embarrassed of them. So I was like, "All right, grab your bag. Let's get out of the car." She was just sitting in the back of the car, not saying it, and just turning more and more red. And I'm like, "You're already late. There's only one row of kids left to go inside. Like, just get out of the damn car, and we'll talk about it later." And she was like, she gets out of the car, and I was like, "If you're embarrassed now, wait until I remove the horn and put in a chicken horn. See how embarrassed you are when I'm just honking on this thing when you come in." And oh yeah, there was about 2 days there where she wasn't real impressed with good old Dad.
There's nothing like being shunned by your own daughter, eh?
You really do get used to it. It's okay after a while. I'm interested in seeing that picture now, Derek. I'll have to click on that later.
I think that they've got too much time on their hands on this show. We better get a little more speed into this. What's next for the furnace room?
So coming up, we've got we've got another beer coming out in December. Like I said, it's called the Fermentator, and it's a double IPA. More along the lines of, I would say, comparable to, say, Good Monster by Collective. So big citrusy, almost hazy style IPA. Big flavor to it. It's really it's like a fruit punch on steroids. So we're pretty excited about that one. Like I said, we're working on our rebranding. We're doing live music all the time at the brewery. We're having fun with some grassroots stuff right now. We've got a partnership going with the Oliver and Bonacini group. So they have we've got exclusive rights to a couple of taps of theirs, and we're on the short list of the beers that they can bring in there right now. So that's a fun one, because there's some of the bigger names in Toronto, like Jump and Canoe and those guys, that we're on tap at. And so we've been making a push on that side of things, and we're really just trying to, again, like, it goes back to the grassroots style. We've got to get somebody in our own backyard that's doing sales on a full-time basis, and really starting to expand our presence around there. We've got a guy that works with us out of Ottawa. He's been in the industry for a while, and he's pounding the pavement, doing all that fun stuff. We've got a Mosaic Pale Ale single hop coming out in the spring at the LCBO. So that one is a phenomenal beer. I'm pretty excited about that one. And we're just trying out new things. We've got a small pilot project that we work on every couple of weeks. It comes out on Saturdays, so it gives Matt and the guys in the back a chance to play around with new recipes, see if there's something that we can find that we might want to put into the LCBO, or have on a more full-time basis at the brewery itself. So a lot of fun stuff happening there.
Besides embarrassing your daughter on the way to school, what's next for Adam?
Well, hopefully I'm building up this working with these guys and being part of the team for a good long time. Got to head down, like I said, I'm heading down east. It's going to be part fun, part got some sickness in the family, so got to go down and deal with that side of life as one does. just I'm at that stage right now where there's not a lot of not a lot of new happening at the moment. Like, I mean, I'm raising my kids. I've got an almost 2-year-old and I've got a 7-year-old, and I mean, it's hard to throw anything new into the mix except for more gray hairs into the beard. So it's we're working on a lot of that right now, and it's a lot of fun. Like, I'm just having fun with things right now, so not looking too far down the road. Yeah, just enjoying the time I'm having right now.
That's great. We should enjoy the time that we have.
I agreed. So yeah, that's where things are right now.
What do you see that's new and exciting happening in the industry?
I see that people are putting a real effort into making really good beers. They're not cutting corners. They realize they can't cut corners. The breweries that are cutting the corners, they're kind of going by the wayside. People are waking up again. Like, it feels like we've just been on this hibernation for the last year and a half. Everybody's just been struggling to survive, and you're seeing it with people bringing back live music. You're seeing it with people experimenting with new beers. You're seeing it. The Ontario Craft Brewers Association is having their conference again coming up in January, I think it is, and it's going to be, if I'm not mistaken, they're actually having a live event this year, which is for next year, which is fantastic. It'll be nice to get back and get to see everybody again. It's just people stretching their legs and doing things in the industry, and I think that's the most exciting part, is that, hey, we're here, we're doing it. And I mean, take a look at Great Lakes. They just opened up. Was it Great Lakes that just Nickelbrook? Sorry, that just opened up the new facility, took over the old Big Rock facility, and somebody was it Great Lakes that opened up in the beaches? Yes, yeah. So that kind of stuff is happening. The fact that kind of stuff was planned during a pandemic and these guys were able to pull it off, God love them for it. Like, it's absolutely fantastic that they've been able to do it. And I mean, especially at Great Lakes, you got guys like Troy Birch, who's been, he's been such a wonderful proponent of this industry, and not just for Great Lakes but for the industry as a whole, to be able to go out there and champion what we're all trying to do on a daily basis. So it's nice to see that on a regular basis.
Which is not just me. I probably need to contact Troy and get him back on the show again.
Oh, has he been on? Has he?
I've had him on twice. Mike Lackey joined him the second time.
Oh, nice.
It was an interesting set of conversations, that's for sure.
Mike's always an interesting conversation.
He's gotten better at it, apparently.
Oh, see, that's not as much fun.
You still have to watch what he's going to do.
Yeah. I've got one more beer here, by the way, Bill. Do you want to?
That's what I was just going to prompt you
awesome.
on. So
Sweet. This guy is the Fountain Green, and it just left the LCBO. We had that one in as our spring seasonal, and it was supposed to be out. I don't know. It was supposed to be out, I think, by July, and they just pulled it last week. So we were very fortunate to have an extra couple of months with it in store. It's a New England IPA. All the hops are coming in the nose on this one. It's there, the flavor. You get a very citrusy flavor, like most of the New England IPAs do have, but you're not getting the hop bitterness on this one. It's another one of those, it's a 5 Alive in a glass. It's a really nice beer. It's an easy drinker. It's for me, it's one of those, if you're going to try an IPA for the first time, try a New England IPA first, because you're not going to be scared away by the hop profile, by the bitterness and all those things that apparently scare some people away. It's a fun beer. So cheers, everyone.
cheers. Just to give you a heads up, okay? My 2.5-year-old granddaughter, who actually had 2, mom and dad decided that they would teach her not to do bitter things by letting her have coffee. And dad's really bitter IPA. You cannot set your coffee down or a beer down around her, or she will drink it.
Yeah, there it is. Not far from the tree on that one, eh?
I just died laughing because first time I put my coffee down, she was standing beside me and I didn't know this. And the next thing I know, my coffee's gone.
Amazing. That's phenomenal. And she's 2.5.
She's 2.5.
That's
And
so
and
good.
and I'm not going to say that she's got grandpa wrapped around, but I didn't stop her.
When's she growing her beard and getting her first tattoo?
Well, that'll be up to her mom and dad, not me. If she calls me and asks me for a ride, I'll probably give her one.
That's absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed this beer, and this beer was the reason why we started to have a conversation about rebranding. Fountain Green is another spot in Georgetown. It's absolutely lovely, and the artwork on the can is really nice too. Like, it's a really nice piece of art. It was actually done by a South African artist, but in job interviews when they're like, what's your, say something good about yourself and say something bad about yourself, and it's always the same answer. My honesty. Like, I'm going to say what's on my mind, and I'm going to say it for the reason of that it's going to, I hope that it comes from a place of, let's make this better. Like, let's use this as constructive criticism. So when I saw this can, I was like, oh, that's really awesome. But that's camouflage. And if you have camouflage on an LCBO shelf, the idea is to stand out, not to hide. So that's kind of where the conversation came from. And it was, we need to focus on tying our whole family of beers together and figuring out the best possible way of highlighting them, because it's not just one beer sitting in our fridge, or it's not just one beer sitting on one of the tables. It's going to be in amongst 120 other beers. So how do we get this wonderful liquid into lips? So we've been having those conversations, and again, the artwork is beautiful. Like, I absolutely love it. Just is it what we're looking for at this point in time?
Well, like you said, it's camouflage.
Camouflage, beautiful camouflage, but it's camouflage. So, and it was, and I think that conversation actually came up during my interview. I was just like, Adam, shut the hell up. Like, you want to work for these people, all right, might as well finish saying it. You're going to say it anyway.
I'd ask you what the best advice you've ever been given, but I'm sure it's probably your dad going, Adam, shut up.
It's probably 100% that. And I mean, it clearly isn't the best advice, because if it was, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing these days. It's Bill, you keep asking me this question. I think my answer changes every single time based on how I'm feeling that day. But at the end of the day, it does come from my dad, and he's like, I don't care if you're the best at something, just try your hardest at it. And I carry that one around with me. Like, I've never necessarily been the best per se at anything, but I mean, goddamn, and if I'm going to be on your team, I'm going to be giving it all I have. And I think that's really the best way of doing it. It keeps my stress levels down too.
Give it 100% is what you're saying.
Right? Even if your 100% is only 70% of what everyone else is doing, it's as long as it's your 100,
you're 100%.
Right? So yeah, no, it's I could lay my head down at night without worrying about the fact that, did I just half-ass it today? And 9 times out of 10 the answer is no, I did not. So I think that's always good advice to carry. It's what I'm trying to instill into my kids. And I mean, I hope they took it better than I did when I was growing up, because I was just like, if I hear this friggin' sentence one more time, I'm just never coming back into this house again.
So what are you reading these days?
Currently, I'm reading a book called The Power of Habits by Charles Duhigg. It's not, it's not the most exciting thing in the world. He's a fantastic writer, though, and he's kind of gives you like a lot of people over the course of this pandemic, I let anything that resembled healthy activity fall by the wayside. I'd like to say that I'm carrying the post-pregnancy weight, but it's not mine to carry, unfortunately, but here I am doing it. So I'm trying to get back into those good habits again. Waking up at the same time every day, exercising every day, doing some reading every day, watching alcohol consumption, trying to replace that with water consumption, doing those sort of things. And this book I've read a couple of times, and it's every once in a while I come back to it, just kind of as a nice cleanup and a nice reminder. And I just actually was working on the other book that I'm working on is the Robbie Robertson biography, which is pretty phenomenal because a lot of it is centered around this area that I'm in down here. You know, there's a lot of time. I mean, Robbie grew up on the First Nations Reserve just up the road from us, and oh shit, what's his name? The other one from just down the street. Not Levon. He's in the States. It'll come to me probably afterwards, like we're in the middle of another conversation. But you know, a couple of the two of the 5 band members are from this area, which is pretty neat. So reading up on their history was really cool. Thank you. No, it wasn't Richard. Yeah, Richard. Oh, is Richard Manuel Stratford? Cool. Thank you.
Hop, skip, and jump, Simcoe. Come on.
Yeah, it's good. No, but who is it? Who's the other one? Who's Manuel? Robbie Robertson, Danko, yes. Derek for the win. Yes, he was. He's just down the road towards Bill's Corners. Is where he was from, and he was actually an apprentice, a butcher apprentice in the area before he got into playing the music.
So you rhymed off a pile of restaurants and bars in Toronto, Hamilton. Who's your favorite craft beer bar right now?
Oh boy. Craft beer bar, I would have to say, is Brain's always been one of my favorites in Hamilton. The Capitol, I'm a big fan of. I don't know if anyone's been to the Capitol bar. They're not posed as a craft bar, but they only have craft on tap. And it's run by actually an old friend of mine, Derek Weaning, and it's on King Street in Hamilton. And it's this little hole in the wall. They do live music twice a week. He's got a great lineup of beers, and you know they're doing some really good things. Iggy's in Font Hill. That's a surprise one. So I mean, if you've never been to Font Hill, don't worry about it because you know you're there and you're gone. You know, it's that place you pass on the way to Niagara if you're coming from my direction. But Iggy's is Jen and Matt have been running their beer program there for years now, and I think they have something like 32 taps or something along those lines. It's something ridiculous anyway, and they take care of the program that they do there.
What do you think is the one thing that craft breweries are doing right now?
One thing that they're doing right, and I mean I mentioned this already, but I think it's just it's not about quantity as much as it is about quality. Like their quality care has been, it's super important. As the craft world matures, the craft beer drinkers are maturing and their palates are maturing, and the places that you could cut corners at a couple of years ago, or they have that fun gimmicky can or that fun gimmicky new idea, it's not working out the same way as it might 2 years ago when people weren't educated about this stuff. Everybody has a choice of what they put in their glass. Everybody has only so much money at the end of the week for their beer and their entertainment. So what's going into their glass has to be good. And I think that what a lot of breweries right now are focusing on is just that. I look at a company like Third Moon, and I'm unfortunately not unfortunately, but over the summer they sold a pile of beer based on that slushy sour thing, and I mean it was a fad. It came, I think it's gone. I don't know. I'm not following it as much as I did, but there isn't there isn't legs to that. And they're a really good brewery. So I have no problem saying this because I know damn well that they're going to come back with whatever they come back with next is going to be fantastic. But there are other places out there that focus so much on the gimmick that they lose sight of what they're doing overall. I think you're seeing more and more places that are focusing on just making really good, well-made beers.
I've asked you this before, I think, but I will ask it again. If you could spend a single day brewing with anybody, who would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. Huh.
It can't be Keith, okay?
No, Keith probably can't brew with Dan. He's
Okay, but just it can't be Keith.
you can't have everything. I mean, he's got the dreadlocks and the wonderful hugs. I mean, I'm pretty sure the brewing isn't going to be in his wheelhouse.
I've been listening to the punk rock music. It's not bad.
I got to be honest with you, and again, it goes back to the same reason that I said Keith last time. I would say Matt O'Hara from Bose, the brewmaster from Bose. He's only because the fact that if I'm going to spend 8 hours or whatever it takes to do a proper brew with somebody, it's got to be somebody who isn't totally friggin' weird. And most brewers that are out there are totally friggin' weird. I love them all, but they're so weirdly introverted that spending 8 hours a day with them is just, I love you guys. I do. If any of you are watching, I do. But no, Matt is such an amazing man, and he's such a smart brewer. And to see him at work and to learn from him would just be such a fun day.
What's the one thing you want all of us to take away from this chat tonight?
That you should really buy more Furnace Room. Buy all of it. Drink more beer. Good job, Derek. No, it's
No. Drink more Furnace Room beer.
Drink more Furnace Room beer. That's the takeaway. It's I think just the enjoyment of it's keeping that enjoyment. Like, don't take it so friggin' seriously. Like, we're drinking beer here. We're not, this is why I love beer over wine, because every time I sit down with a glass of wine, I feel that my pretension level just went up just that much higher. So, I mean, just to sit down and have beer with friends is fantastic. I mean, this is my third time on the show, and, as soon as every one of these screens popped up, I was like, oh, awesome. There you are. Like, it's great to see you again, so, and that's how quickly this community works for me. And I think that the takeaway is just, drink beer, hang out with your friends. If you can't see them face to face, then do a Zoom call. I mean, you don't have to post every Zoom call on YouTube. That's Bill's gig, but it's for everybody else just to enjoy a couple of beers.
Adam, thank you for joining us tonight. It's been a pleasure having you back on the show.
Thank
you for the gift of your time and introducing us to Furnace Room.
Thanks.
Remember, everybody, Aaron Broadfoot's on next week. Get your orders in on Friday. David and I are making a trip down Saturday because we have some things him and I need to talk about to pick up beer.
Damn, Dave, you're in trouble.